This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Manarino.
Hi there, and welcome to PIX on Politics Daily. I'm Henry Rosoff in for Dan Manarino. Well, a lot to talk about, as always, in New York and New Jersey politics in particular. We're taking a deeper dive into New Jersey politics, the race for governor there, the race for Jersey City mayor. We will double back to the New York City's mayor's race at all, and helping us step through all of it is Trip Yang of Trip Yang Strategies, a veteran of numerous local and national campaigns. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's just start with your top line thoughts on the New Jersey governor's race. On the Democratic side, it seemed like we were maybe on the verge of having a clear front runner in Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, but then the herd got kind of crowded again. What do you think?
What we're seeing right now in New Jersey in the governor's race is actually fairly rare. On the Democratic side, usually the Democratic nominee for governor is predetermined by the political leaders, the various county chairmen. Certainly this was the case in the last governor's race in 2017. At this point in time, Phil Murphy had effectively wrapped up the nomination. This year, you actually see a very muddled field. Of course, Mikey Sherrill leads in political leader endorsements. However, in the polling, she only has a small lead. It's a very, very close race. Some supporters of Ras Baraka, some supporters of Steve Fulop will say that their candidate has the momentum, has the grassroots energy. This race might actually be the rare New Jersey gubernatorial primary that comes down to a photo finish at the end in June.
And this New Jersey governor's race, along with Virginia, is often seen as that sort of off-year referendum on the president. President Trump, of course, all the polling just came out around his first 100 days, not doing so well, particularly in traditionally blue states like New Jersey, which is, I think, more purple than people realize. Will the Dems eventually be able to come together and win a race that some would argue maybe they should in a year where they just lost the presidency?
What I will say is that although New Jersey is historically Democrat, there are about 800,000 more registered Democrats and Republicans in the state of New Jersey. You have seen signs of a little bit of slippage. In 2021, Jack Ciattarelli, who I believe is going to be the Republican nominee once again for governor this year. This is his third time running for governor. In 2021, he came within 3 points of beating incumbent Democratic governor Phil Murphy. And just a couple months ago in November, Donald Trump had an historically strong performance for a Republican nominee for president in New Jersey. And so a lot of this depends on, quite frankly, the popularity of the chief executives on both sides. How popular by November will Donald Trump be? And how popular by November will Governor Phil Murphy be? If there is some lag in these respective leaders' popularity, it could be a drag on their party's nominees this November for governor.
And you mentioned Mr. Ciattarelli, a commanding lead in the polls, but do other candidates who perhaps been more loyal, more vocal in their support of President Trump, which Mr. Ciattarelli has not always been during the last 8 to 12 years, do they have a chance of getting after him at this point, or are we too close to primary day? Is he going to carry the banner again for the GOP in New Jersey?
The big wild card right now in the New Jersey Republican primary is going to be if Donald Trump gets involved. Donald Trump in New Jersey, like he does in most states, has a very fervent activist base that could seriously tip the scales for his preferred candidate in the primary. If he doesn't get involved, then Jack Ciattarelli is going to run away with this thing. Jack Ciattarelli is ahead by 3 touchdowns. It's his third time running for governor. And, Jack Ciattarelli is probably the strongest potential opponent for the Democrats. He is really a throwback to that type of Tom Keene, quote-unquote moderate Republican that you've seen from a lot of northeastern and mid-Atlantic states. He would actually pose a serious threat to the Democrats in the general election. If it's someone who is a little bit more Trumpy or a little bit more MAGA, that actually would be good news for Democrats. So once again, Donald Trump is the wild card. If he gets involved in the Republican primary, it could be a close race over there. If he doesn't, Jack Ciattarelli is winning by a landslide.
And it's fairly obvious if you look at social media and even his ads and the way he's attacking Mr. Ciattarelli. The radio veteran Bill Spadea really seems to be trying to almost beg the president for that endorsement that might just shake up that race. Am I interpreting his kind of campaigning correctly right now?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment right now. If you're Jack Ciattarelli, you're just trying to run out the clock.
Let's talk about the race for Jersey City mayor. I mean, the big name there with all the name recognition is former Governor Jim McGreevey, but he has a lot of challengers. That is kind of a wildcat or wild card or non-primary race, so we've got a little ways to go there. How do you see that one shaping up, at least so far?
Right now, in the race in New Jersey's economic engine, Jersey City, it looks like Jim McGreevey is the front runner. He has been on a political recalibration, resuscitation journey back into political office for many, many years now. And he has been particularly active in Jersey City in the civic engagement there. He is the front runner. He has led in fundraising by a large amount. But I wouldn't underestimate the campaign of James Solomon, who is the local council member there. He has run and won office off the line against the political establishment. He has a lot of energy. He's young. He knows how to win when he doesn't necessarily have institutional support. So I wouldn't count out, Solomon right now in this race, but former Governor Jim McGreevey is going to be the hands-on favorite here for Jersey City mayor.
And we had Mr. Solomon on this show a couple of weeks ago. At this point, it was a good conversation with him. We'll have everyone on. Let me check through some of the other names so that we're being fair, though. We have Hudson County Commissioner William O'Day. You have Ali Musab, the former president of the New Jersey City Board of Elections, and you have City Council President Joyce Waterman. Anyone else besides Solomon you see running a particularly good or effective campaign right now?
I would say it's probably a two-candidate race here between McGreevey and Solomon. Jersey City is a place where, on the council member level, you have had multiple council members be able to succeed in winning when they don't have the support of the county organization, where they don't necessarily have a lot of labor union support or Democratic leader support, but not at the Jersey City mayoral level. In the mayor's race, it's been pretty hard for an insurgent candidate. You really have to go back to Steve Fulop, who was someone who did not come up through the quote-unquote political ladder, the conventional political ladder, who had a successful run for Jersey City mayor. Of course, at the time, Steve Fulop took out an incumbent Jersey City mayor, but that incumbent at the time had some real scandals here. So it is very, very difficult when you are not running against someone who has political baggage to be a front runner for mayor in Jersey City. That's why Jim McGreevey right now is the front runner. However, I would not underestimate the chances of Solomon.
Let's touch on the New York City mayor's race with now just a couple of minutes left. So you have all the polling and all of the fire being aimed at former Governor Andrew Cuomo, the huge recognition. He's in the 30s or 40s in most of the polling. No one else, with the exception of Zohran Mamdani, is even in double digits right now. Cuomo appears to be cruising, and he's acting like it. He's not taking a lot of media questions, for example. He's holding some, but not a lot of events. Tell me, is he going to be the next mayor of New York?
The election for New York City mayor used to be a referendum on Eric Adams. It's now a referendum on Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo is ahead by a large lead right now. He is on track to run away with this thing unless there is real consolidation among the other Democratic candidates. In New York City, we have ranked choice voting, which means voters can rank up to 5 candidates on their ballot, and it provides an opportunity for various candidates, even though they're competing with each other, to also coordinate and see if they can work together to prevent someone they mutually dislike. In this case, that person potentially could be Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo, while he has a big lead, his unfavorables, meaning his negatives with Democratic primary voters in New York City, are very high. And so if all these various candidates can band together and spend $20 million amongst their respective campaigns together alongside independent expenditure outside spending, they could really drive up Cuomo's negatives with TV ads, direct mail, and digital ads, and give themselves a fighting chance. Right now, you are right. Democratic Socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani, who's very charismatic, very smooth, very populist, has a great smile, connecting with South Asian and young voters, probably has the best chance. I would give Scott Stringer, Brad Lander, Adrian Adams varying degrees of credibility here, but the time is ticking for any candidate or any strategy to emerge against Andrew Cuomo.
We've seen this sort of slating strategy from, to name check a few groups, the Working Families Party, from the Public Employees Union. Is that enough at this point? Or what you talking about is we really need to pick a guy or gal and say, this is who is it, we all need to come together. Will this kind of slate rank strategy work, or do they need one person at this point?
It's going to be a combination of factors. Right now, Andrew Cuomo, even though he's not technically the incumbent New York City mayor, he's almost acting like he's the incumbent because he's not doing many public appearances with other candidates. He has swallowed up the endorsements of most of the Democratic elected officials and labor unions that have weighed in on the New York City mayor's race. So in many ways, people are treating him, and he's campaigning like he's the incumbent. He's doing a prevent defense strategy in football where you're ahead by multiple touchdowns. So the remaining groups, the Working Families Party, some of the labor unions that endorse a non-Cuomo candidate, such as DC 37, they need to really propel candidates with a ranked choice voting strategy at the same, and as well as, quite frankly, push one candidate as the top pick. So you have to cover your bases a little bit. You also need all these various candidates to spend tens of millions of dollars in attacking Cuomo together. Now, one of the final things I'll say is that there is a collective action problem because most of these candidates think that they are the hero in this action movie, that they want to be the one candidate to take on Cuomo at the end of the action movie. I don't know if this is going to work without a lot of selfless coordination amongst the non-Cuomo candidates.
Well, Tripp, thank you very much. And you know what they say about prevent defense, it often prevents you from winning the game. So we will see what happens here. But that'll do it for this edition of PIX on Politics Daily. I'm Henry Rosoff, filling in for Dan Manarino. You can catch us every day at this time, 1 o'clock. And, of course, PIX on Politics, the big show, 6:30 on Fridays with a re-air on Sunday morning. Have a great day.